All right, so we've moved our way a little bit further to the west. We're on the west side of a couple of bridges that go over Shipyard Road. You can see, I don't know if you can make it on the camera, but the milepost marker right here says 195.48. And again, that is the mileage on the Kinghorn. But what that tells us is basically we're at what is known as Current Junction. So Current Junction was 195.5, and I'll flash that up on the screen. So we're off to the side here. Again, we're not going to get close to the rail line because it is an active rail line. You can basically see the rails here are much shinier. You can see that they've probably seen a little bit of traffic. I can see make out this one here. You probably can't see it on the screen. I see Sydney 1984 on this particular rail here. So much newer stock of rail. So again, over there you can see the Canadian Pacific rails. So again, that is the Canadian Pacific main line. That is their Nipigon subdivision, which runs from Scriber to Thunder Bay, and I'll put that up on the screen. I'll put the mileage up. I can't remember exactly how the mileage is, the 132 something. So we're just kind of skirting again along the side of the grade. And so the significance of Current Junction was beginning in 1956. This was essentially the terminus of the Kinghorn line. Prior to 1956, from 1915 to 1956, the terminus was the station at Port Arthur, and we're going to go take a look at that. The mileage on the original lines was 147.9. So when they stopped running passenger service, this became sort of the terminus. And so this is known as Current Junction. We just talked about the station called Current is just to the east over there. There is a Canadian Pacific station that is called Current over here. And the reason why it's called Current, I believe, is probably named after the river that you can hear running here just up ahead, which is the Current River. And what we'll do is I'll probably scoot up ahead a little bit more there and just kind of show you what's going on. So basically you can see this little bridge here. I don't know if there's a date on here. I'm gonna go down. It's over there. It's 1948. So you can see the milepost. I don't know if you can make it on the camera. 195.6. And so again, starting in 1956, this would have been the end of first the Dorion and later the Kinghorn subdivision. I'll scoot up a little bit ahead there, and maybe there'll be a date on the piers of that bridge. We'll look at this one here, and we'll look at the one up ahead. All right, so we're down here below the bridge. You can see that it's just basically a timber bridge with a number of concrete piers. The waterway here is pretty dry. I was wrong on the date. I couldn't see it very clearly from the other side, so it does say 1946. Quite old by today's standards, but certainly not an original structure on the bridge. Okay. So we're going to work a little way closer to the Current River, which you can hear running here, and just get a little perspective on the bridge, and then how everything kind of opens up into Current Junction. All right, so we're on top of the road bridge here at Current Junction. You can see a very beautiful shot of the Sleeping Giant. You can see some of the grain elevators here in the city. The water is just roaring down the Current River. This area here is actually known as Fisherman's Park. And there's a number of people that are probably fishing in this area with all of the spring runoff. I'm going to cross the road here, and so this gives us a good view of the bridge. I don't see any date stamp from here, and with the amount of water that's coming down, you can see it flowing like crazy. I'm not about to go and have a look and see if there's any date stamps or anything like that. I don't see any from here, but maybe in the summer when the water level is lower, I'll go and have a look. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go over there a little bit further to the west, where you can see a little bit more of Current Junction here, and basically you can hear me over the sound of the river. All right, so we've made our way down closer to the river here. Quite a bit of time has elapsed since we shot the main part of the video. So that was filmed in May of 2022. It is now August of 2023. So it took some time to get back here. You can see the level of the river has dropped considerably since we were here the last time. So we're gonna move our way a little bit closer to the bridge. After, we're gonna hop over onto the other side where we can see things a little bit better. So here you can see the bridge structure much more close up. So here you can see the eastern abutment much closer up. It looks like there's been some work done, because when I look up here, I don't know if I can get up there, this part here, the concrete on here actually looks much older, and it looks like there's a cap. So it looks like this part has been redone from this part, and this section here has been redone as well. I don't see any type of date stamp. Maybe when we work our way over to the other side, we'll see something. You can see it does need a paint job. All right, so let's hop the river here and go take a look at the other side. All right, so we've moved over onto the western side. Here you can see the road bridge. And again, much less water at this time of the year than what you would see in the spring, particularly last spring where there was a ton of runoff. So here you can see the western abutment. And so again, the bridge is basically in two sections. You can see the deck plate girder span here on the western side. And then over here, what appears to be a through plate span with the high walls, basically giving it much more clearance. And you can actually see the difference in the size of the beams underneath, the spans underneath. So you can see how this one is much thicker compared to the one there. And again, that is just basically to allow for more clearance underneath the river. Wish there was a little bit more brightness today. It's kind of a foggy morning. We'll walk around here and we'll see if there's any type of date stamp on here. Obviously, there was an original structure here. Again, this could have very well been it. This concrete does look very old. Right here you can see the milepost marker. And I believe that is the milepost marker on the Kashabawi subdivision, so the 1.13, because that would not be a mileage on the Kinghorn. All right, so here's our close-up of the sign. It's taken multiple visits to sort of figure out what's going on with this. I originally thought that this had been renumbered or incorporated into the Kashabawi subdivision. As it turns out, I think what's happened is that this section of the Kinghorn has been re-mileaged or renumbered. I went and took a look at the sign that's over the bridge, by the bridge over Shipyard Road. That's one still says 195.48, but this sign and the one that I'm going to show you here in a second which is just over there. I don't know if we can pan over there and see it. Actually, there's a sign here. So you can see the sign that says Kinghorn Spur. And then you can see the sign over there that says 1.04. That one doesn't make sense because the mileage doesn't make sense on that one. But I think this portion of the Kinghorn has been renumbered. And again, now they're calling it the Kinghorn Spur. And again, it's just used for storage. If you take 1.13 and you basically take that and go 1.13 miles, that takes you right to the end of track. So right to the end of the usable part of the Kinghorn, which we took a look at in a previous segment in this episode. So, and again, this is brand new because when we were here in the spring of 2022, this one still said, I'm pretty sure it still said 195.6, and I'll flash that up on the screen so you can see that. So again, this has been renumbered and rechanged. I don't know the explanation for that. Maybe it just logistically makes it a little bit easier for CN to do that. But certainly that is a big change from what we saw last year. So here you can see the Canadian Pacific Bridge. So this is their Nipigon subdivision, which runs from Scriber to Thunder Bay. You can see there's a concrete slab here. There was something that was here. You can see this footing here. Again, no date stamp, so you can see there's a really, really old spike here. So this may be original. Because a lot of the original structures, such as the Nipigon Bridge and the one over the Black Sturgeon, no date stamp on the concrete work. So we're gonna just hop over here. Ooh, raspberries. You can see there's a switch up there. There was a sign. I don't know what the sign says. So there you can see the switch. You can see the bridge. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to resume with the other part of the video, and we're going to see things from a little bit further to the west. All right, so we're just west of the bridge, and so you can kind of see things a little bit better here. I can speak a little more clearly, so you don't have to hear me over the water. And so essentially what you can see here on the opposite side, you can see the station board for the Canadian Pacific. You can see Current River. You can see some of their signaling. So again, the reason why this is called Current, obviously, and likely after the Current River, but the significance for our investigation is this a very, very important point, and the reason why it was the end of the Dorion and later Kinghorn subdivision from 1956 until 2005 was basically at this point is where the rail line shared trackage. So beginning with the Canadian Northern and later Canadian National, they basically share about 2 miles of track here running from Current Junction all the way to near where the station is at Port Arthur. So a couple of miles of shared trackage. And again, that was just basically because of some of the limited space. And again, it was part of Canadian Northern's master plan when they built the rail line. They basically wanted to share all of Canadian Pacific's trackage from Port Arthur all the way to Nipigon. So they wanted to share about 70 miles of rail up until that point, and obviously that didn't go through. What they got was they got the couple of miles here in Port Arthur, later Thunder Bay. So what we're going to do is now we're going to jump ahead those couple of miles and basically make our way to what was the end of the initially the Canadian Northern Railway Nipigon subdivision and later Canadian National Railway's Dorion subdivision. We're going to head over to the station in what would have been Port Arthur, now Thunder Bay, and we're going to be taking a look at that structure.